Normally, I do not do these type of videos on my channel. I focus on smartphone photography. However, the folks at Soundcore have truly impressed me. It's time for Engineer Reacts. Now, this won't be a super deep dive. I'll just kind of go through the basics. Now, I was able to purchase one of these Soundcore Boom 2s, and I have to say I'm extremely impressed. As a self-admitted audiophile, this is my second Bluetooth speaker. I avoided them with all costs. The least expensive speaker that I would have in my house probably in the last 20 years is the NHT Super Zero speaker. So I have to say I'm pretty impressed with this. We have a power button, you have your Bluetooth pairing button, you have your reverse and forward tracks plus your play and pause, and then you have your party cast. So if you have 100 friends that have Boom 2s, you can easily connect all 100 of them together. And then you have your bass where you can actually double the bass, and that's where they talk about this speaker is up to 80 watt. And I won't get into too technical, right? So 80 watts, that doesn't really tell the average person what it means. Bottom line, if you had a speaker with a sensitivity 50 decibels, 80 watts would be nothing. So it really depends on what your speaker is capable of doing. But for what I've heard with the Soundcore, it's extremely impressive. Going around back, you actually have two power ports. You have a power where you can charge up the Boom 2, and then you also have the ability to power something else. So this has a 4900 milliamp hour battery. What's pretty impressive, right, is just the build quality of this thing. So it's a plastic, but it's pretty substantial. Probably knock someone out with this thing. But the one thing I have to say that impressed me the most is, again, the amount of bass that comes from this thing. And also the mids and highs are decent enough to where I can actually use the speaker. The speaker boasts 24 hours of playtime. It's waterproof and floatable, so it's an IPX7. And I always caution people, it doesn't have dust resistance. Typically things that are waterproof don't. And one cool feature is the lights. So we'll kind of talk more about that now. There's several different modes and I'll kind of step through them there. The bottom line is they're all different. They have different colors, but they also are synced to the music. So it's pretty nice effect. I have the Soundcore 300. Now, one thing I'll have to say is this is the first speaker that I've had of theirs that I believe I could use the Soundcore profile. I really didn't use any of the profiles on that one. I always did a custom EQ. I still haven't set up the custom EQ on this guy because I'm good with the normal profiles. Now, let's talk a little bit about the music. So I listen to a variety of genres, but probably what I've been listening to the most now, because it ebbs and flows. It depends on if someone has released something or what have you. If there hasn't been a release, I'll kind of vibe with certain artists. So right now, who I've been listening to quite a bit is Party Next Door. He has a very different take, in my opinion, even though he's written, so like to give you an example, he wrote work by Rihanna. One of the songs I listened to quite a bit was Break from Toronto, and it was about a time that he went out partying with friends, and he wrote the song in like 20 minutes after hearing a vibe from Miguel. And the thing that I noticed was the quality and richness of the bass. Now, I will say I did listen to other tracks. I don't want you to think just because this has such great bass, it's not going to hit every note. It's going to drop out at 40 hertz. And then as it goes, which every speaker is going to do, there's going to be a roll off, right? So it's not going to have as powerful notes going up and down the frequency range. Also, you're not going to get the speed of an audiophile subwoofer with this thing. However, what's there is very good. So then you have an artist by the name of Solange, which you might hear more real instrument, but it's a lot of vocals, a lot of highs, not much synth going on in her music. And then I kind of went over to Little Dragon. It's a band out of Sweden. So I kind of focus a lot on Peace of Mind with Faith Evans. And what was funny is Faith Evans was like their hero and kind of their influence when they were in high school over in Sweden. So they have a lot of live instruments. They have a full band. And I thought it did extremely well. The next artist I went to was The Weeknd. So I played his track Reminder quite a bit on that. It has a lot of quick high notes and a lot of bass throughout. And the quality was there. And I'm not doing a lot of breakdown in these because I'm going to talk about some stuff that I'm not featuring, but I'll say what what I always recommend people do is to play music that they're familiar with when they're making their assessments. And I also listen to Frank Ocean. So I focus more on the song Pyramids, because Pyramids is actually about what Cleopatra was and what the interpretation of what Cleopatra would be today. So there's a lot of different changes in the music, and I thought this did really well. And finally, I was listening to a lot of SZA, and specifically I focus on Snooze as a track that she did alone. She also did with Justin Bieber. I just thought it was a phenomenal track, and it's just a steady, I guess you could say it's classical SZA, but it's steady bass throughout, nice little highs, but I thought it did pretty well. Now let's go into more of a breakdown. I would like to have 2 speakers for the Galaxy Angel test. So when you have your speaker set up appropriately, where there's an equidistant triangle, and depending on the speaker, if you have to toe in the tweeters towards you, on cosmonautica, it basically, you could have 16-bit wave, it could be 24-bit, I don't care what it's in. I mean, it could be low res. What's going to happen is when it starts playing the music, the highs are literally going to wrap around you in 360 degrees. It's literally like you'll hear it all around the room and behind you. So I can't test that out here. But another thing what separated speakers from just okay speakers is it's literally a track where it's setting up, because a lot of this type of music, it's trance music. It's very similar to classical, where there's a build up and there's a crescendo. So when the bass literally hits, what ends up happening with well-rounded speakers that have great mid bass down to the low bass, it literally seems like a bass cannon shot off with the music. And it's not something you would get with super low bass music, like let's say for instance a DJ Magic Mike.
Engineer reacts.
I guess I'm obligated to do a sound test, but unfortunately on YouTube, I can't do it with tracks that I just went over. Crazy, right? So there is further testing that I want to do. Maybe I'll link up with someone that actually has a Boom 2, and then I can borrow it and check out the stereo. But I'm extremely happy about this. I think the app works extremely well. It's one of those things where it's very intuitive to connect. Also, to turn off your speaker remotely is clutch. To have the EQ, obviously as an audiophile, well, some audiophiles don't believe in EQ, but I would like to have more bands of EQ. So far, I've been happy just out of the box using this as a speaker. And one thing I'll say too about the Soundcore 300 is more forgiving about placement. I felt like the Soundcore 300 kind of struggled at times. So it was really sensitive to where you placed it. It could get really bass heavy, and it could get, not that this doesn't get reinforced bass, but it seems like the highs are able to cut through based on placement. Yeah, those are my thoughts on this unit. Again, this is not what I typically do on my channel, but if you're interested in any other videos on my channel, click here. And as I always like to say around here, with that, we're out.